What is up, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Coachable podcast. Y'all, this one is fire. So freaking fire. I can't wait for you to hear from Michael. Michael Unbroken. He is the man. I had just for the first time got to connect with him. I had heard so many good things about this guy, and we just have a ball over the course of an hour talking about literally exactly how you can change the game and create a comeback in your life in any area. And this guy's story is going to blow your mind in terms of what kind of comeback he made personally. I mean, this guy went from homeless to his own hero, and you are going to leave this podcast so inspired to go take action and take control of your life and your happiness and your success. Michael Unbroken is the founder of Think Unbroken, the best-selling author, award-winning speaker, podcast host, coach, and advocate for adult survivors of childhood trauma. And this guy is just the real freaking deal. He's empowered over 100,000 trauma survivors to get out of the vortex, learn to love themselves, and become the hero of their own story. He has written multiple books, including the bestseller Think Unbroken, Understanding and Overcoming Childhood Trauma, spoken in over 80 countries, won investments from undercover billionaire Grant Cardone, and is on a mission to end generational trauma in his lifetime. Oh, this is one y'all don't want to miss. So just go ahead, get a pen, get a piece of paper. You're going to want to take notes, I promise, because this is these are the plays you need to be running in your life to completely change the game. Before we jump into this episode, I do want to say thank you to Organifi, my favorite organic superfood blends company. They are my go-to for plant-based nutrition and high-quality ingredients in less than 3 grams of sugar. And what I love about Organifi is that they use such high quality ingredients. They're super convenient because all I have to do is mix it up in my water, put it in my Linder shaker bottle, and drink my greens and make sure that I am getting exactly what I need into my diet. It's the best thing to have on the go. Plus it tastes amazing. And you can get it for less than $3 a day. I recommend getting their Organifi Green, getting the Organifi Red and the Gold. You can get it a bundle pack on their website. All you have to do is go to Organifi.com/Tori Gordon, and you can use the code Tori20 at checkout to get 20% off your order. All of the Organifi products, by the way, are USDA organic. They're gluten-free. They are dairy-free, soy-free, vegan, non-GMO. I promise this is the cleanest superfood blend you can put in your body if you're looking for a new green juice at a really, really great price and super convenient. Check out Organifi, Organifi.com/Tori Gordon, and the code is Tori20 at checkout for 20% off your order. Now, I do have another special announcement, you guys, and that is I want to give you guys a gift. I want to say thank you for all of you who continually come back to this show and you've shared and shown it to your friends, your family, the people that you hang out with, your coworkers. It means the world to me that you choose this podcast, you choose to come here and get inspired and educated, and that you also connect with us. So what I want to do is give you a gift. And that is my Find Your Purpose workshop. So many of you guys are in a place in your life, and we talk about this a lot in this episode, where you are searching for something. You are seeking something out. You are looking for meaning, purpose, and fulfillment. And my Find Your Purpose workshop is going to give you the roadmap to do just that, how to take your trauma, turn it into your testimony so that you can take the pain that you've gone through and turn it into your purpose and start to live that out. And you, my friend, have a unique God-given purpose, and there's so much potential that is available and waiting for you to step into, and I want to teach you how to do that. So I want to give you access to the Find Your Purpose workshop. It is my online 3-part course, and I want to do it for free. All you have to do if you want to get access to it is go to Apple or Spotify, wherever you listen to this, and leave us a rating preferably 5 stars if you believe it's worth it, and a review, an authentic review. And I want you to take a screenshot and send it to my team, support@torigordon.com. Just send us the screenshot of your rating and your review, and we will send you back a link to get the Find Your Purpose workshop for free. And that is my way to say thank you for being an active listener, participant in this community. And it really, really helps the show grow. I love you. And I'm excited for all the things you're going to get to discover, learn, and hear in this episode. So buckle your seatbelts. Here we go. What's up? We got Michael in the virtual studio today. Super excited to have this guy here and be able to chat with you, Michael, and get to know you a little bit. I've heard so many good things. I've had multiple people be like, Tori, you got to talk to Michael. He has so much to share that you're going to connect with and your people are going to love. And so it was just like a hell yes when I got the introduction, and very excited to have you. Thanks for spending some time with me.
Yeah, for sure. I heard the same thing. So we must run in good circles.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm excited to see where all the connections lie. But, I've heard bits and pieces of your story through other people that know you, through following you online and your podcast as well. But I'd love for you to share with me and to listeners who you are, how did you get to this point, and what is some of that background story that has really helped you and like made you into the person and the man that you are?
Yeah. So I'm me. I always like to start there. What I do is I work with adult survivors of childhood trauma, and we go through this process of healing, learning to love ourselves, and ultimately doing the hardest thing that we ever do, and that's being the hero of our own story. So I'll give you the elevator pitch version, and we'll go from there. So when I was 4 years old, my mother, who was a drug addict and alcoholic, she actually cut off my right index finger. And people would be like, how could your mother do that? And I'm like, well, hurt people hurt people.
Sure.
And my stepfather was super abusive, kind of dude you praise never your stepfather. He kicked the shit out of my brothers and I, put me in the hospital multiple times. Never met my real father. And I'd lay in bed at night, I'd pray, I'd be like, God, send this dude to like rescue me. Like, I'm like, he must be Batman or something, because yeah. And he never came. And that was a lesson I learned really young, that nobody's coming to rescue you. And we were super impoverished, homeless. And, I lived with 30 different families between 8 to 12 years old, getting bounced around place to place to place. And in that, I learned how to read people really well. And that became a survival mechanism. And by the time I was 12, my grandmother adopted me. And you think that was like a godsend, which to some extent it was, except that I'm biracial, black and white. And my grandmother is an old racist ass white lady from a town in Tennessee you never heard of. So much so, we had a copy of Hitler's autobiography, Mein Kampf, on our kitchen table. So if that gives you any context to the identity crisis that I was about to have, that should tell you everything you need to know. So I got high for the first time when I was 12, started popping pills, getting stoned all day long every day, started getting drunk at 13. And by the time I was 15, I got expelled from school for selling drugs. And I was breaking into houses, stealing cars, running from the cops, getting shot at, hurting people, like all this super crazy shit. And I was just trying to like make it. You know what I mean? I never had any goals or dreams or ambitions in school other than like don't die. Like I wanted to join the military because I thought that was going to be my out. And that's what my family did. And that's what my friends did, especially if you come from the inner city. But you know what? You can't get into the military when you can't graduate high school. And I didn't have a high school diploma because my senior year, I missed like 90 days of school and I had a 1.2 GPA. And so the irony in it, my business teacher actually failed me. And I went up to his classroom and I'm like, why did you fail me? And he looks at me, he goes, I didn't fail you, you failed yourself. And he taught me a really important lesson. And he says, you need to understand something about life. If you want something, you're going to have to work for it. You cannot get by in your charms and your good looks. And I had to go to summer school, and I was a loser, and I was embarrassed, and I was shameful. And in summer school, the summer school teacher pulls me aside like third weekend or something. He goes, dude, we're done with you. Here's your diploma. Get the hell out. And so like this weird juxtaposition happened where I would literally just the thing that I was told I can't do, I was doing, and then still somehow made it into what was next. And so I'm going and working some nonsense warehouse job, and I'm putting microchips into motherboards, standing on an assembly line all day for 12 hours. And I'm just watching the loss, the desperation, the fear in people's eyes, and knowing for some of them, like, that was it. This is as good as it's ever going to get. And I got fired from that job like 3.5 weeks in, probably because I was stoned. And I'm sitting in my car, Tori, and I have this moment where I'm like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? What is happening right now? Like, you're such a loser, can't graduate high school, none of your friends are talking to you, you're an embarrassment, your girlfriend must be so embarrassed of you, like, what is going on? And I was like, all right, cool, hold on, pause, light this joint, and let's figure out the solution for life. And so I'm like, all right, how do you solve this problem? Oh, it's money. That's what it is, right? It's got to be money. And so I made a declaration to myself that day. I said, by the time that I'm 21, I want to make $100,000 a year legally. And that legal part was super important. I've been in handcuffs multiple times. I have family in prison for life. And as of today, my 3 childhood best friends have been murdered. I knew where I was going. I knew exactly where I was going if I didn't make that decision. And so I just started learning skills. And I landed a job with a fast food joint at 18 and a half. I had 52 people under me. I was learning leadership and sales and how to do P&Ls and inventory and hire and fire and develop. And I made every leadership mistake that an 18-year-old could make working with 18-year-olds. And, I realized that still wasn't going to be the path. And I was chatting with a friend on MySpace one day, aging myself here a little bit, and he had just got a brand new Tahoe truck. And I was like, dude, how the fuck did you get a truck? Like, what? You're the same idiot that I used to get high with and go and sit in alleys and talk about life. What are you doing? And he's like, I got a job with an insurance company. And my mind was blown. I had no idea you could do this. I had no idea. The only thing I ever knew was fast food and warehouse jobs and buy here, pay here places. I didn't even know that was a possibility. And I was like, oh, that's the path. And so I just started interviewing and putting in resumes and cover letters for every insurance company I could find. And I got turned down nonstop for 1.5 years. And then I landed a job with a Fortune 10 company. No high school diploma, no college education, a company everyone listening to this has heard of. And I started making $100,000 a year. And then my life turned into a complete disaster. Because that thing happened to me that happens to people who get money for the first time. And I just blew it all. I was living this rock star lifestyle. I'd go drop 5-6 grand in the mall like that, just being maniacal about it, not really understanding it, having a miseducation about money and misappropriating it on things like fucking strip clubs and bars and cars and shoes and nonsensical things that I thought meant this is what being a man was. And so I did that for a while, and by the time I was heading into my 26th birthday, I was 350 pounds, smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day, drinking myself to sleep, stoned from the moment I woke up to the moment I went to bed. I would literally take the bowl off the nightstand, roll over, and light it so I could get high just so I could go into my day. And that's when I put a gun in my mouth. I was done. I was like, I thought money was going to solve all this. And the next day, I'm laying in bed, and it's 11 o'clock in the morning. Keep in mind, I'm 350 pounds. I'm smoking a joint, eating chocolate cake, and watching the CrossFit Games. Like, if that's not rock bottom, I literally don't know what is. And I picked myself up and I looked at myself in the bathroom mirror, and I'll never understand exactly why I did this, But as I'm looking at myself in the mirror, I remembered being 8 years old. And the water company had come and turned off our water again. It's like this blistering hot Indiana summer. And, they were always turning off the water, the electricity, the heat in the winter. We were always getting evicted. We were always packing and moving. It was Tuesday. You know what I mean? And I take this little blue bucket. I walk across the street to our neighbor's house. And for the first time, I stole water. And I remember being like, when I'm a grown up, this will not be my life. And it wasn't monetarily, but it was in every other way. I was still that hurt, lost little boy. And in that moment of realizing that I had broken the promise I'd made to myself as a child, I asked myself a question. I said, what are you willing to do to have the life that you want to have? And the answer became no excuses, just results. And I fucking meant it. And almost 12 years later, here I am talking to you.
Wow. I I am emotional because hearing you talk about being 8 years old again and taking your bucket across the street to go fill it with water, I got this image of how many of us take our bucket that's empty and we go walk around life and we're like, can you help me fill my bucket? Like, can you help me get what I need? Like, can this job fill my bucket? Can this relationship fill my bucket? Because I need something that I don't have, and I think you're the answer for it. And I just had this like moment of thinking about all the times I was that 8-year-old little boy in my own way of being so desperate and not knowing how to get my needs met because I wasn't taught how, or I didn't have the people or the resources or the friendships or the support or the guidance. And I feel that so deeply, how many people listening to this are in that place in their own lives where they're having that conversation with themselves around, can we go on like this? Like, is this how it's always going to be? Or like, how do I reconcile that? How do I justify that? And if I don't, how do I change it? Because if no one's taught me how to fill my bucket, I don't know how to do that for myself. And that's what you do now. I'm just curious how did you learn to start sourcing that water from yourself? Like, how did you start to learn how to source for yourself the things that you needed? Because life didn't really set you up for that and prepare you for that in any way. And I know people that likely are listening to this, maybe they haven't gone through the same things you've gone through, but they can relate and they're like, how do I start to change and turn this around? Because I don't like who I'm looking at in the mirror or what my life is looking like at this moment.
Yeah. I wish that I had a pill that people could take that mitigated rock bottom. Because I'd be a fucking billionaire. But I don't. And I've coached thousands of people, interviewed hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, read more books than anyone I know, been to more conferences and events, deeper into this space. I've learned from everybody: Bessel van der Kolk, Pete Walker, Gabor Mate, my own personal mentor is Tom Bilyeu, and like it's like these guys are all amazing human beings, and a lot of women in there. I've learned from Mel Robbins and Marie Forleo, and I've spent time with Brene Brown, and like all these people, and it's like we all have something in common. We all had to hit fucking rock bottom.
No kidding.
I wish that we didn't.
That's the
because
common
we're
denominator.
right. I mean, look,
Yeah.
we're only willing to tolerate what we're willing to tolerate, and if you are willing to sit in your life as is and be complacent, and look, I get it. Like, fuck. If anyone gets it, I do. The only person literally I've ever met in my life whose childhood is on par with me is my homie Anthony. Anthony Trucks. I know he's
Yeah.
been on your show. He's one of my friends, and I love that dude dearly. I don't know many people have had a background like us. And so I get it when I'm going to say, you want to play the victim? Godspeed. You're welcome to. You're going to end up like I was when I was 25, right? Or worse. And you have every right to. Please do. But please also know and reconcile the truth that every single day that you do that is a day you're not moving towards your dreams. And every day you don't move towards your dreams, you're moving towards a death filled with regret. And that's a hard thing for people to understand because it's easy, especially in this society. If you live in America, this country is so nonsensical in the way that it approaches dreams, in the way that it approaches healing, in the way that it approaches accountability. It's always somebody else's fault. And that's what I used to do. It's your fault. It's my parents' fault, the community's fault, Obama's fault. Like, it's everybody's fault. It's never Michael's fault. And the more it wasn't my fault, the more disastrous my life became. And then I realized the truth about it, that a radical acceptance of accountability is the only true sense of freedom that you'll ever have. But let's think about this for a minute and go into depth. Why don't people step into accountability? That's the question nobody ever asks, right? The reason is incredibly deep. It's going to take me a moment to explain this, but I want to create context so people will have a rational understanding why the fuck they can't show up in their life.
Yeah.
When you're young and you come through traumatic experiences, now you can look at the statistics around the ACE survey, which surmises 83% of people had adverse childhood experience. That's divorce, abuse, molestation, those big things. I would argue, however, it's actually 100% that no one comes through this unscathed, not only because of non-reports, but also I don't think that report or that study was very conclusive, right? It was a bunch of white people on the West Coast in a nice area of town. That said, it's a great baseline. And so you take that into consideration, you look at that, you go, okay, this is reasonable, right? Now let's think about this. The brain serves a purpose. And in fact, it serves a singular purpose. And that purpose is to make sure that your ass lives long enough to procreate and then to watch your procreations procreate. That's it. And so as the brain is going through and taking the stimuli of life, categorizing it pretty much into two factors, things that are safe and things that are dangerous. Well, what happens is it starts to make meaning of those experiences that you're having and saying, okay, is this safe or is it dangerous? Now, if it's safe, you may continue to do it. If it is dangerous, the brain goes, oh, hold on, wait a second. Survival is in jeopardy here. I can no longer do this. Here's where it gets crazy. Trauma and abuse, this is my opinion, is not, it's not the finger that was cut off. It's not the cuts. It's not the burns. The thing that we carry with us, the thing that we really carry with us is the theft of our identity. Because what happens is in order for you to survive, you have to turn off. Because the brain says, hold on, wait a second. Being me is dangerous. And if being me is dangerous, that means life is in jeopardy. Thus, I cannot be me because then I am unsafe. And if I am unsafe, I will die and then I do not serve my purpose. Okay, cool. We're definitely not going to be me anymore. And then what happens is that you learn to shut off. You learn not to be you. You learn to placate. You learn to bend. You learn to chameleon and be everything that everyone wants you to be.
Right.
For safety. And the problem is that actually serves you for a period of time. The most dangerous thing I could do as a child was have an opinion. The fastest way for me to get my head slammed into a wall was to ask for something I needed. So I learned to turn off, as do many people who come through this.
Right.
Now, it also doesn't have to be that dramatic, right? It could be you're in third grade and you're coloring a house and Miss Smith comes up to you and puts her hand on your shoulder and goes, Tori, that's not how you color the sun. The sun's not purple. And she laughs and it's nothing to her, but all the kids laugh at you too. And then you get embarrassed and you feel shame and guilt about your individuality. And because the brain's purpose is survival, and one of the things that's incredibly important is not being ostracized from the community, your brain goes, oh shit, I cannot be creative anymore. That's dangerous. They all laughed at me. And so now you're in this position where it's multifold. You got it in home, you got it in school, you got it in society, you got it in the media. And the worst part, again, is that for a period of time, it serves you. And so what happens is you live your life always being whatever everyone else needs you to be, always being a chameleon, always bending yourself to the world. And then you realize when you're 22, 36, 48, 70 years old, you have no idea who you are. You don't know how to say yes. You don't know how to say no. And you always bend so that other people are comfortable. Mm-hmm. And the reason you can't be accountable is because you've never been allotted the space to discover what you're capable of. And so every single time that you're on the precipice of becoming you, your brain, as an autonomic response to the stimulus of the unknown based on the experiences that you've had leading up to this moment, says, don't you remember that time you tried to be you and you got fucked up? You better not do that again. Mm-hmm. And when you understand that you actually have all of the control over that, you're able to then step forward. But it starts with accepting and acknowledging the truth of the reality that you don't know how to be you yet because you've never done it, and it's terrifying. And because it's terrifying, the brain says, don't.
Yeah. Yeah. You just described the core premise of what I talk about in Coachable University, and how I speak to this in my work is that setting is like, if you take the idea of a football game. I grew up in Alabama. I love football. I use this analogy to help me understand it. It's like you get hit, you get blindsided, and you get knocked out. And that's the trauma, that's the event. But trauma, as you said, you mentioned Gabor Mate, he says trauma is not just the thing that happens to you, it's what happens inside of you as a result of what happens to you, which you would identify as the loss of identity, or the forgetting, or that needing, the survival pattern of needing to be someone you're not so that you don't die. And so when you get a concussion, your brain's rattled and you kind of like, where am I? What am I? Who am I? What's going on? And then, but the thing about psychological, emotional abuse, trauma, especially childhood trauma in our formative years of where our belief systems and our brains are developing, and we're figuring out if the world's a safe or scary place, or if we have a place in it where we belong, is that when there are people that are walking around with injuries that we can't see, right? It's like if you get on a football field and you get knocked out, you're going to go through a rehab process. You're going to take time to work on recovering from that. And we don't have that process in place for people who are recovering from traumatic injury, from trauma, childhood trauma, psychological abuse, emotional, sexual, etc., and what happens as a byproduct of that. And as a result, people, the way I think of it is that they've only ever played one position in their life on the field, which is defense. I'm just trying to defend myself against pain and against suffering to the best of my ability, even if that means I become someone I'm not, or I bend and blend in whatever way that makes the most sense for me in my situation and environment. And then we keep hitting our head against a wall, like, why am I not making progress? Why am I not moving down the field? Why am I not hitting my goals? Because you're on defense. Defense doesn't move down the field. Defense doesn't, score goals. Defense doesn't make progress in that way. And learning how to play a whole different position in offense requires skills that we have never learned. We have repeatedly practiced one thing in one position over and over our entire lives, and then we expect to go be able to run routes like a running back, or throw touchdowns like a quarterback, and we've never done it. And then we wonder why we can't, and why we're not, quote unquote, winning. at life. And so there is a period of time in what you're speaking to, which is this decision-making point, which is often rock bottom for people. And I talk about it as like halftime. It's like, okay, I didn't plan to be 40 points down at halftime. Like this is where you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you're like, oh, this is not going the way I would like it to go. And we need to turn this ship around and we got to come back. But we are behind from where we thought we would be, this idea of where I think I'm supposed to be, right? And it's like, okay, how do we, in that pause, in those moments when you're like on your knees, looking in the mirror saying something's got to change, where you begin to put your eye on the prize and get clear about what you want. And then it's like, okay, how do we start to move into offense? What was that like for you? Like when you were developing these new skills, obviously mindset's everything. You got to know what you want, have a clear idea and vision for what you want. But then there is like a lot of training that goes into now, how do we create that? How do I put the action behind it? How do I start to develop discipline and accountability and become responsible for my life and my success and my progress? Outside of, was it learning from mentors, just like investing in your own education and knowledge? Would that be what stands out most, or was there anything specific that you did?
Well, I mean, everything, right? And I appreciate the football analogy because the only way, one thing came to mind when you were speaking was like, well, sometimes you do score on defense, but that's when you make an interception.
Right.
And what that actually is, and I played football for a decade, what that actually is a sway of momentum. Mm-hmm. It is someone coming in and saying, hold on, stop. I'm going to take control of this. And that's so much about what life is. You know, I don't share this. I have not shared this a lot, but I will share it here because I think it makes sense. The first 3 years of this journey were so fucking hard that I didn't think I was going to make it. I mean, hard in a way where it was like one step forward, a million steps back. Mm-hmm. You know, being 12 years now into doing this work and now all these other things, it seems like that was a million years ago. But the reality is it was so incredibly difficult. And I had to learn how to play a really fucked up mind trick on myself. I'm going to share it with you guys. As I said, don't share it often because without the right context, people will take it out of context and it turns into a thing. But what I discovered was I was the king of giving up on myself. I was great at it. No one was better at quitting than me. Nobody. And even to this day, I'm the laziest person you've ever met in your life. And I know you're thinking, well, he's written 3 books and he has a top 40 podcast and he's spoken on the biggest stages in the world. I'm the laziest person you've ever met in your life. And I know that about myself, so I've had to train my brain into something. I don't have to use this tool I'm about to share very often, maybe once in the last 3 or 4 years, but in the beginning, it was daily. We have to change the way we think about ourselves. Right. And looking at yourself in the mirror and coming to terms with the reality of the situation you've put yourself in is everything. I love action movies. Like old 80s style, just run and gun, hair metal, rock and roll action movies. There's always something these protagonists have in common. At some point they hit rock bottom and they have to pull themselves up and they have to go and finish the mission and kill the terrorist and get on the motorcycle with the girl and the music rides them into the sunset. And because of my love for these 80s action movies, I used to look at myself in the mirror and call myself a terrorist. Why? Because I don't negotiate with terrorists. And I know that's like an insane thing to say, but you have to get to the place in your life where you find the thing that forces you forward with momentum. Yeah. It's that interception. Like, what are you going to do to interrupt where you're at right now to go into what's next in your life? And often it is, unfortunately, like this massive rude awakening where you're like, okay, I've got to get my shit together. Let me teach you a secret. Nobody's coming to save you. There is no Disney moment. Whatever it is that you think is going to happen, it ain't happening. Sorry. Hate to break it to you. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but I'm not here to be your friend. I'm here to be your coach. And I want to give you the truth. I want to keep it real because in the beginning, Tori, I quit so many times. All I did was, man, it was like, fuck, I fucked up again. I did it again. I'm drinking, I'm smoking. I hooked up with a stranger on the internet. I'm in debt again, this and this and this and this. And it was like literally one step forward, a million steps backwards. But I was just like, shut the fuck up. Keep going.
Yeah.
Figure it out. Figure it out. Do not negotiate with yourself. And what that turned into was me looking at creating the life that I wanted to have. And I got massive clarity about it. What is happening right now had nothing to do with that. I want to be very clear about that. The only thing I was like, get healthy, lose weight, don't smoke, don't be a monster. Right? And that was it. That was kind of it. I was like, I'll figure out the rest as I go. And as I got deeper into this, it's funny because at the beginning, I wouldn't read books. I wouldn't listen to podcasts or, radio interviews or whatever back then. I would do none of this. I'd be like, I got it. I'll figure it all out. The more you try to figure it out on your own, the more fucked you are. Yeah. And here's why. Because what you know got you to where you're at.
Right.
And so if you want to get to where you want to go, you better go fucking ask somebody else.
Right.
And so what I decided to do, I said to myself, all right, cool. I'm discovering something that all the entrepreneurs I look up to have in common. They unequivocally just believe in themselves.
Yeah.
And at 27 years old, I realized I don't have confidence. And it was the first time I really held it. I always knew I didn't, but I really held it. I mean, that's what the drugs and the women and the money and the cars and the clothes were for. Sure. I was like, I'm going to fill my cup up, right? And so I'm 27. I'm having this moment of realization, and I'm in the process of this chaotic 3 years. And I'm like, just keep going, just keep going, just keep going. And then I realized the truth. You can only build confidence through consistently doing incredibly uncomfortable things.
Repetition.
Continually.
Yeah.
And so in that, what I said is, all right, cool. I'm just going to start learning everything. I'm just going to go deep. I started reading books. That was like the easy barrier to entry. And then I started going to conferences. And it started off where like $97 freaked me out. I was like, what? You 97? You want me to give you $97? What the fuck are you going to teach me for $97? And then now I'm like, how do I give somebody $97 million?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so you get deeper into it. And it was that. And it was coaching. And it was therapy. I did all the therapies. Name a modality. I dare you. I've done it. Everything from, Gestalt to NLP, EMDR, CBT. Right. I did group therapy, men's group trauma therapy, Reiki, body work, all of it, right? And then I got deeper into getting coaches. I got deeper into learning. I got deeper into personal development. That led me to Bessel and Gabor and all those guys, right? It led me to Tom and Grant Cardone and Tony Robbins. It put me in those situations. But it all started very simply with one decision: to no longer negotiate with myself. Everyone listening has already heard all this shit. But the difference between the people who are going to be successful and the people who are not are the people who are going to choose to stop fucking negotiating with themselves and follow through.
Preach. Preach. That is the game changer. Like, that really is. It's like you were saying, there's a momentum shift that happens in your life. Maybe you get an opportunity, maybe you get a job that you didn't really qualify for or whatever. And you're like, okay, how am I going to use this momentum shift, or this person that's coming into my life that's giving me this opportunity or whatever. And then use that as a catalyst to start to move in a new direction. But the thing too is when you do get clear about what you want, that's when all of the opposition shows up. And when you talk about the first 3 years being the hardest, that rings so true for me, because anytime I set a new goal, or I'm like, yes, this is I'm going to start a business, or I'm going to start doing the deep healing work. It's that's when all of the toxic friends are calling you. That's when all of the things that could be in opposition to the thing that you now have decided that you want is going to show up, the resistance. And it's that It's the opponent that you are fighting, not externally. It's not the friends or the family members or the people that are hating on you on the social media or whatever. It's like the opponent between your ears that tells you to negotiate with yourself. Like to just do the thing that you want most in the moment over the thing that you want most, period. Right? That it's always like, yeah, this will make you feel better right now. Like it's just one time, like whatever. And the degree to which we're willing to negotiate with that opponent, or you could say terrorist in that regard, it's like that's why we end up in this push and pull with ourselves for so long. And I know so many people that stay in that their entire lives, and they just live in a frustrated state all the time, in a defeated state, where it's like, why even try at this point? Why even keep going? Like, it's just like, I'm just going to do the same thing I've always done, right? I'm just going to make a commitment and break promises to myself and hurt people. Yeah.
Well, think about this for a second. And I know you were going somewhere, but I want to interrupt you, and I apologize because I think this is really important.
Please.
The people who say why, well, stop complaining. That's a fucking hard thing to hear. If you want to keep talking about woe is me and my life is the worst and what's the point and all that, well, just shut up. Just shut up. What the fuck? You're not going to do anything about it. Nobody wants to hear it. Like, there's no not harsh way for this to come out.
Sure.
Nobody cares.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like, I know your life is not what you want it to be, but you can either shut up or you can do something about it.
Yeah.
And look, I'm all about, look, I work with people who've gone through traumatic experiences. I've been there, and I know people are I will get an email, Tori, I swear to God, it's going to happen. Somebody's like, you should not be coaching people because you're not empathetic. Or, yes, I am. You want real empathy? Go do the fucking thing you know you need to do. That thing that keeps you awake at night, we all have that. Until you address that, your life will not be different. And you can't just sit here and blame everybody. You can't just sit here and be like, woe is me. And the people, here's the worst part. The friends, the family, and the people in your circle who allow you to do that, they are not helping you. They're not bringing anything to your table. And in fact, I don't even let people like that sit at my table. If if I'm having a day where I'm complaining and one of my friends is like, yeah, man, you're right. You do deserve all that. I can't believe that. I'm like, I need to check myself.
Sure.
Why? Think about this though. Why? That's learned behavior. We've been taught that it's okay to quit on ourselves. We've been taught that it's okay to give up. It's even been modeled for us. In our families, in our community, in our government, in relationships. I mean, divorce rate's 55% or whatever, right? It's probably actually higher. It's modeled. It's shown, hey, it's okay. Quit. Don't worry. It doesn't matter. It's not a big deal. Just quit. It's all right. Well, guess what? The more you quit on yourself, the worse your life will be. I literally just wrote this in the book that I'm working on. I said, it's not nice people who finish last. It's quitters. As long as you keep going on a long enough timeline, you will get what you want in life. I swear to God, it's crazy some of the stuff I've done in my life because I just said, I'm just going to keep going.
Yeah.
I'm just going to figure it out. But you cannot allow yourself to be like, woe is me. Why me? I don't know why you. There's no rhyme. Why the fuck do some people get born legless and some people get born crossing finish lines with Olympic records? I don't know. The only thing I know is the only thing you can control is your reaction to the world that you live in. And if you choose to say, I'm going to figure this out, I'm not even saying, I'm a realist. I am not like Mr. Optimistic. I just look at the world through this scope and I go, has it been done before? Yep. Bet. Cool. As long as it's in alignment with my values, my wants, my needs, my interests, my boundaries, and my moral character, I'm going for it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that people have to figure out. Like, you can have it all, but only if you go earn every inch. It's kind of like, you think about I like going back to football reference since we're in this, but it's not if you win by an inch or a mile, it's how you play the game. And if you decide to actually build yourself on your effort and not the end goal, then every single day, instead of measuring yourself by this idea of the byproduct,
Right.
you measure yourself by the effort and the energy that you put in. And so if you sit down every single day, you reflect on your day, you go, did I show up today? And you build yourself on that, anything is possible.
Yeah, because if you just put your head down and you are consistently, like you were saying, diligently putting in the reps, you will eventually look up and you are on the goal, like in the end zone. Like if you are just so consistent, like head down, doing the thing every day, you are making progress incrementally, inch by inch. And then there will be a day you look up and you're like, oh, I passed that goal a long way back.
Yeah.
And that's, games aren't fun unless you know the rules. And there are a lot of people playing the game of life and they're fucking frustrated and they're like, this is not fun. And what we're trying to do, you guys, is like give you a rule, like a playbook for like how you can turn this around for yourself. Because I love what you said. You're like, I'm a realist. I am too. I've been through my own traumas, different than yours, but it brought me to the same place. It's like, what choice do I have? I have two choices: defeat, despair, give up, fold in, like throw in the towel, be a victim, wallow in self-pity. Or choose to hope, choose to believe that there is something bigger in all of this, choose to put in effort and to control what I can control. Like we have those two choices all day, every day. You get to choose what you believe and the story that you want to tell about the experiences that you have. And it comes down to like choosing defeat, choosing to like just give up and be like, what's the point? Why? It's like, what does that do for you? Like choosing that there are two roads. And if you go down that one, it's like, what does that do for you? Because there's a cost and there's a payoff. And I think the payoff is you don't have to change. Like you don't have to do any work.
Yeah. And people get stuck in this. This is the number one place that I believe people get stuck, is in this decision. And in front of, you said it a few minutes ago, but I didn't say it. This makes sense to say right now. In front of me, there's a giant sign that says mindset is everything. Because it's true. But we do a tremendously terrible job teaching people what mindset really is. And so I'm going to take a second to do that. And I'm going to show you how when you adopt what I'm about to say, it'll help you cross that chasm in the decision making to actually showing up. Right? You think about mindset. People are always like, mindset, mindset, mindset. That's just such the industry we live in. It fucking drives me crazy. And I'm like, hold on, wait a second. Let's actually go into that for a moment. Right? Some of you are talking to yourself in ways that are so mean that if you said it to me, I would punch you in the face. And you're expecting to be successful. Think about that for a second.
Right.
Mindset is simple. What you're going to do, you're going to grab this thing called a pen, arguably the greatest investment of all time, the greatest 96 cents you will ever spend if you heed the words that I'm about to say. You're going to take this pen and you're going to write down and convince yourself what I am saying is true. I am the kind of person who is kind to myself. I am the kind of person who is kind to myself. And you're going to remind that to yourself all the time, nonstop, every fucking day. Why? Because here is what mindset is. Mindset is what you think becomes what you speak become your actions, and your action become your reality. And right now, many of you are saying, I'm not good enough, I'm not strong enough, I'm not capable enough, I don't deserve it, nobody loves me, I'm not special, I'll never be shit. So guess what? You're acting like that. And because you're acting like that, you have now created that reality. And when you adopt, I am the kind of person who is kind to myself, what happens is in your head, in the moment of decisions, you ask yourself, well, what would a kind person do? Would a kind person wake up on time and not hit snooze, make their bed, brush their teeth, go to the gym, go and give their best effort at the job, leave the relationship, travel the world, write the book, start the podcast, be the influence that they want to be in their own life first, be a great mother, brother, friend, community member, show up for their family, their church, everyone? Would they be a person who most importantly showed up for themselves in the hardest moments of their life? And instead of quitting, they would go forward, because why? A person who is kind to themselves, they wouldn't quit. They'd find a way to get it done, because they have to honor that in them. And so when you start operating through that scope of kindness, well, now you start acting as a kind person would, and then that becomes your reality. And so in those moments of needing to make decisions in your life, well, now you don't have to worry about it, because you're a kind person.
Yeah. It's this universal truth that our beliefs control our behavior. And if whatever we do is always a byproduct of what we believe to be true, and that if we want, there's this saying, if I want to have something, if you want to have something you've never had before, you got to do something you've never done before. And I like to say, if you want to have something you've never had before, you got to believe something you've never believed before. Yeah. Because you can only do the do part of that if you believe and think differently. And that's the shift. It's the going from, it's going to suck to get up this morning and to like get in the gym, or to like put in the resumes or whatever. It's going to suck and it's going to be painful and I don't want to, and blah, 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 to it's a non-negotiable. It's going to have to be, oh, it's not that bad. This is a belief that I was talking to my students last night about, is one of the biggest things that keeps people in mediocrity, which is it's not that bad. The relationship, it's not that bad. The debt, it's not that bad. It's going to get better. It'll be fine. It's not that bad. And so you never do anything. So you have to switch that. It's not that bad to, no, it's fucking terrible. It's so terrible. It's like, it's your reframe from like, to I don't negotiate with terrorists. It's that extreme to make me move into a position where I don't take, like I take different action, and that I believe so much that it's that terrible. Like that draws me to, like, that's motivating to do something about, as opposed to, it's not that bad. That's not really going to get me out of bed in the morning,
Yeah. And it's actually probably worse than you think it is.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part about it is, I hear people say all the time, and that's probably just because of the field that I'm in, but all the time people go, I thrive in chaos. That's the fucking dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. And I used to say it all the time.
Yeah.
Why is it dumb? Why? Because why would you thrive in chaos?
I thrive under pressure.
Why would you thrive with your back against the wall, 40 grand in debt, in a relationship that you cannot stand, at a job that underpays you, in a community that doesn't serve you, and your whole life feels like miserable and a disaster? You sure? You want to thrive in that?
Come on.
I don't. I want to thrive in what I want, and I want everything. People ask me all the time, what do you want? I want it all of it. I got a laundry list of everything that I want in my life. I'm so clear, from the kind of business to the kind of body to the kind of relationship to the kind of money to the kind of everything. I know exactly what I want. And at some point down this line, there's a helicopter involved, just to give you context. But I realize, like, here's what's interesting about, let's go in this a little bit deeper. You can have anything that you want on a long enough timeline, as long as you're willing to acknowledge the truth that you're not good enough yet. Yet. That doesn't mean you can't get there, but you don't have the skills to get there now. And most people will quit so early on that they'll never even make it onto the playing field. We're going to talk about football all day. So you think about this. So I grew up in Indianapolis, right? And the Indianapolis have the Colts. And as I was coming up, the Colts were garbage, right? They just were. We used to be able to go to games for like $5. And then along comes this guy, Peyton Manning.
Yep.
Arguably one of the GOATs, right? The GOAT who didn't cheat, Tom Brady. And so you're in this thing where like now you have this guy who is obsessed with creating his life. One of the things I think people miss out on, and I love sports. I love to be in the environment when it happens. I particularly love like MMA. And so I love watching people win championships. And the same thing as this football, you're watching people's dreams come to fruition in real time.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think people really pay attention to that. When you see somebody win a champion, like they've done everything to get that moment, right? You know, I was speaking on stage at Grant Cardone's event a few months ago when he invested into my business, when he became a partner, when in front of 10,000 fucking people, he believed in me. I was like, yes, that was a moment where it's like, this thing has come true.
Yeah.
But I couldn't have done that without the 6 years of grinding. Events where 2 people showed up, rooms of 4 people, 7, 10, 5, and you grow, right? And the thing is, I'm not even remotely close to what I want to do. And so when you have that massive clarity about the life that you want to build, it's about the continuation of showing up by doing incredibly uncomfortable and difficult things every single day to build your confidence so that when it's time and the game is on the line, you've already done it 1,000 times.
Right.
You know, I've Kobe Bryant is the screensaver on my phone. There's not a lot of people in the world I've ever gotten emotional about when they died, but he was one of them. And the reason why is because you watch greatness just go away like that. And people don't understand, like, tomorrow is not a promise. Think about that dude. He had everything. Amazing family, amazing career, won a fucking Oscar, writing books that were getting awards and on New York Times bestsellers. He was just starting.
Yeah.
Basketball was only one phase of this dude's life. Trauma is only one phase of your life. What you want next is right here, but you got to put in the reps.
Right.
You got to put in the work. You got to show up every day. There ain't no days off in this shit. I tell people all the time, when you come into coaching with me, you need to know 2 things. 1, I'm not your friend, I'm your coach. 2, when you sign that dotted line, this is a rest of your life game. And you can have everything you want in your life, but you're not good enough yet. Put in the reps, learn, grow, be coachable.
Right.
Show up every day, day in, day out. Ask the right questions because the quality of your questions determine the quality of your life. Show up, don't negotiate, and in 18 fucking years, watch your life be different.
Commit to the process. Commit to the process. And you have to buy into the process. You have to buy into the system. If you don't, you will balk back at it all day, every day, and fight it. And ultimately, the thing I love watching people like Kobe Bryant, and I think it was Muhammad Ali, maybe, I can't remember who it was, but it was some boxer that was like, he doesn't start counting his reps, like his crunches, until he's in pain. It's like the work doesn't start until you're uncomfortable. Like that's when the work starts. And so, but what I love watching, like from watching athletes or anybody that's performing at like the highest level, is the thing is the pros do the basics better. They sit around and they're still doing like practicing their free throws and doing the drills and doing the same stuff that you'd be like, oh, I'm better than that now. I've graduated from that. You know, I want to get on to bigger and better things and be on stages and speaking to 10,000 people. Like I'm not going to show up for this call where I'm only speaking to 2 people. Like I'm beyond that.
You want to know something really funny? So I love that you said that. In April, I challenged myself. I've meditated daily and weekly for a decade. And I just wanted to see what happened if I didn't. And let me tell you this, I did not make it with no meditation April. I was losing my freaking mind because I got out of the basics and I was suddenly like in a warp zone and I was like, what the fuck is happening right now?
Yeah.
And I had to get back to it. I said, back to journaling, back to meditation, back to my daily routine and practice, because the basics are what sets you up for success.
Right.
And I think you're spot on. That's the difference in this, right? And you'll never do anything once and be proficient. I don't even think in 10,000 hours you'll be proficient. I think you got to just keep showing up every single day, day in and day out.
Yeah. Yeah. And once you just buy into this is a never ending journey, like then you stop efforting as a part. It's like, oh, okay, let me sprint down the field to get to the thing. It's like, no, this is a marathon. Like
You're gonna trip.
It's we're just pacing ourselves every day. Like, let me just put in like one foot in front of the other, do the meditation, commit to the journaling practices, to the gratitude practices, to the breath work, to whatever it is for you that grounds you, that reminds you of who you are, of why you started, of what you're here to do, of like what your mission and vision is, and realign to that every single day. And then all of these things that we have talked about is the playbook for turning your life around and making that comeback, because you, Michael, like are the epitome of refusing to allow your circumstance to dictate who you become in your future. And most people allow their circumstance to be projected onto their future, and they just keep recreating that over and over and over again. And I think it's our ability to intentionally choose that gives us the power to create our own reality. And we always get what we expect. Like, we're going to get what we expect to get, and nothing less than that. So I have no doubt that you're going to be in the helicopter because you expect to be.
Yeah, and I don't negotiate with myself, so it's going to happen. It just might be 37 years, right? And I'm fine with that. It's not about the if, it's the when. It's fine. It's going to happen. I just don't know when.
Yeah.
And you know, the thing is, I think people should really hold on, and that I hope they'll hold on to, is like, I'm not on a pedestal here. The greatest moments for me as somebody who coaches and does what I do is when people are like, my life is better, I don't need you anymore. I'm like, praise Jesus. Let's get you the fuck away from me. Go and change the world. Because my mission is very simple. I want to end generational trauma in my lifetime through education and information, so another child doesn't have a story like mine. And so keeping you in my programs, that does not help me do that. I don't even want you here. I don't even want to be talking about this right now. Right. But the reality is, like, that's what it takes. And when you step into that, no matter what, no excuses, just results mentality, your life will be different. But you have to get to this place where you understand an infallible truth about this journey. Inherently, the number one thing that you can do is understand this. If you don't believe in yourself, who will?
Yeah. Period. And that's the invitation for anybody listening. I don't know how you get 56 minutes into this recording and don't feel inspired to get up and to commit to doing the work, because it's a lot more work to just settle. It's like a lot more painful just to stay in that, in the story that this is all it'll ever be, and give up, because to your point earlier, that leaves you with just so much regret and unfulfilled potential of what if I had dared to try? What if I dared to put myself out there? Because life is a fucking full contact sport. You can't get around it. There is no spectating. You either got to get in and commit and be willing to, you're going to get roughed up. You're going to take some punches. But if you realize it's part of the journey, and it doesn't mean that you're losing, or it doesn't mean because you got knocked down, it's the end of the game, you can continue to get back up. And that willingness is like a requirement for creating what you want to create.
And honestly, like, it takes as much effort to destroy your life as it does to create your life. And if you're willing to sit inside of that and just say, all right, I'm just going to go for it. Be willing to fail. Actually, let me rephrase that. You're going to fail. Get comfortable with it.
Yeah.
That's okay, because that's how you're going to learn what works and what doesn't. I failed a bazillion. There's shit I'm never going to tell people that I've done. That is so like crazy. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, because of those experiences, I am where I am today. And you have so much opportunity. If you still have a freaking breath in your body, like you have right now, make the choice right now. Like people are like, I'm motivated. I'm going to change my life tomorrow.
Right.
That's so stupid. Like you don't get that. That's not I could die right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's just the world we live in. That's reality. You don't get any say in this. And if you're that person where like, I'm on the fence about quitting this job, leaving that relationship, starting that thing, traveling the world, going on this adventure, figuring out who the fuck I am, you're running out of time. You should have stopped listening to this a half an hour ago. Go make a decision.
That game clock's just ticking. And to your point, we don't know. If you don't know if you're in the fourth quarter of your life right now, you have no idea.
Yep.
We all are playing as if we are just getting started. The truth is you have no idea. So what if you started to play lights out? Like, I'm going to give it everything I got.
Let's go.
Michael, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you so much. I know people are going to want to know more about how they can know what you're working on, what your programs are like, where you're hanging out online. Can you tell the people, give the people what they want? Where can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, I'm everywhere on social at Michael Unbroken. Everything, literally everything I teach is on the Think Unbroken podcast for free. Just go to thinkunbrokenpodcast.com or just download the Think Unbroken app. It's in all the app stores. There's all kinds of free everything everywhere.
Go get it, you guys. You know what to do. Take a screenshot of this. We would love for you to follow us on our new Instagram, the Coachable Podcast. If you love this, tag us, tag Michael, so we can see and hear what your takeaways are and how you're implementing what you learn here, because knowledge isn't power. Applied knowledge is. So don't come here and just take. Go integrate, go apply, and go create the life that you want. I love you. Thank you for being here. Michael, you're welcome back anytime, my friend, on the Coachable Podcast. We'll see you next week.